In this lesson, you're going to retell the story of the elves and the shoemaker. Use your plan from yesterday's lesson to help you remember what happens in the story and in what order. I've got mine here to show you, so if you haven't done yesterday's lesson, you can use mine to help you. So we stuck the pictures in the right order, and at the start, I had the shoemaker and I said he cut out leather, and then when he woke up the next morning, he found new shoes. The next part with the two pairs of shoes, and I said they sold shoes for lots of money. They were beautiful and comfortable. You might have had different adjectives, or you might have had the same as me. Next were the elves, and I've said hid in shop. Now the elves weren't hiding in the shop, it was the shoemaker and his wife. But I've just wrote that in there because I know that happens in that part of the story. I said that they saw elves and they were surprised, which is a nice adjective which you might use. Next was this picture of the elves wearing their clothes. And I said the wife made clothes. And then I've just wrote down what did she make. She made them a shirt, some trousers and some socks. And I've got the word overjoyed, which remember from the first lesson we know means extremely happy because the elves were very happy with their new clothes. Then at the end, we have the shoemaker and his wife, and I've said they were rich, they were thankful, and they never saw the elves again. So I'm going to use my plan today to help write the story of the elves and the shoemaker. And I've got an example for you here. So you can have a listen to mine before you start writing your own. Once upon a time, there was an old shoemaker who lived with his wife. They were both very poor. One night before going to bed, the shoemaker cut out some leather ready to use the next day. The next morning, the shoemaker couldn't believe his eyes. On the table, there were a pair of shoes. What wonderful shoes they were! He had no idea how they had been made, but they were sold for lots of money. That night, the shoemaker cut out his material again for the next day, and sure enough, when he woke up, there were more beautiful shoes waiting on the table, which he could sell straight away. The shoemaker and his wife were so thankful for the shoes, and they wanted to know who had made them. They decided to stay up in the shop and see who had been so kind. To their surprise, they saw two little elves working away, but they had no clothes. The shoemaker's wife felt so sorry for them, so she made them little shirts, shoes, and socks to keep them warm. The next night, the elves were overjoyed when they saw the clothes, so they danced and sang with happiness. The shoemaker and his wife never saw the elves again, but they were forever grateful for showing them how to make such beautiful shoes. Okay, before you go and write your own story, we're just going to go through a checklist of what we need to make sure we've got our good writing. So first on my list is capital letters. You know we need capital letters at the start of every single sentence and for people's names. So I'm just highlighting some of them that I've used here. Remember your capital letters should be lovely and tall and they should be bigger than all the other letters that you write. Next on my list, I've got either full stops, questions, or exclamations, but probably not going to use question marks today. But full stops and exclamations we definitely can use. So I've got my full stops at the end of my sentences, and you'll find them before I use my capital letters. And I've also got an exclamation sentence here. I've said, what wonderful shoes they wear. That's following on from some of the work we did a few weeks ago. And it's where we use the word what or how to exclaim something. So what wonderful shoes they wear is a good example of using an exclamation sentence. Year twos, you could definitely have a go at using that. Year ones, you could have a little go, or you could steal mine and try and use it in your story if you wanted to. Next, the finger spaces. You can see here, I've got a nice space between each word. It just helps us read the story. Adjectives, so some describing words. So I've said there was an old shoemaker, I've said, I'm trying to find another one, wonderful shoes. I've said the little shirts. So they're just some describing words and they make your writing more interesting and help the reader picture what's going on in their head. Conjunctions is next. So you might use the word and, you might use the word but. And these are words, remember, that extend our sentences to make them longer. So in year 1, we use and. In year 2, you'll use a range of different conjunctions. So but, so, why, because. Have a go at trying to use some of them in your sentences. Neat handwriting. So making sure our ascenders are lovely and tall, ending descenders go under the line and make monkeys' tails. And our last one was just make sure it makes sense. Read through your story when you're done and just check that you've not repeated any words or missed anything out. Okay, good luck with your story. I'm sure you'll do a great job.